Hello everyone, this is the second video for Julia-Olefinition reaction where I will discuss different examples of synthetic applications of all these three versions of Julia-Olefinition. So please watch the first video for Julia-Olefinition and the modified Julia and the Julia-Kociensky reactions so that you can understand all these examples in a better way. And I will give the link for the first part in the description box, and also the link is appearing right now on the top right corner. Let's start. The first example, so these few examples I have taken from the books. The page number you will get in the description box. So here we have MeCH2SO2pH. In presence of this base butyl lithium, there will be negative charge generation and this will attack this aldehyde. Now once this attack is happening, that means CC bond formation will take place. So this is the starting material for the actual elimination reaction, but before the elimination this OH will be converted to, that is MeSO2, so there will be esterification OSO2Me, and then there will be reductive elimination, as you can see the reagents, and finally there will be removal of these two groups and we will get, if you focus on this part, there is the generation of E-alkene. So here if you look at the final product, this part is coming from MeCH2SO2pH, and the other part that is coming from this aldehyde, which have a large structure, but this part we don't have to bother because you can consider as if it is a R group. So this is also the R group. Okay. Next example, example 2. Here also we have many chiral centers and there is a large group attached to CHO, but we don't have to bother about it. Simply write it as R. And the other part, as you can see, where SO2pH is present, this side also we can consider it as if it is R prime. Okay, so one CH2 I have kept here because the carbanion will be generated here in presence of butyl lithium, and then there is 70 means this one. So there is also the esterification reagent, that is the acetic anhydride, reductive elimination reagent, and finally there will be generation of this E-alkene. Okay, so this part it is coming from R prime, and the other part that is coming from this R. So this is R, as if this is R, then CC double bond, then R prime. Okay, so in this way we will make this reaction true, that is we will visualize it in a very easy manner, because though there is a very large structure, but it doesn't matter. Okay, our focus is only this CHO part and this carbanion part. Example 3, this is also taken from Carruthers. Now here this in the previous two examples you have seen, this is original Julia-Olefinition reaction, right, where SO2pH group is present, SO2pH, but now this pH group is not present. Instead we have this tetrazole ring. Okay, and in presence of 74 and this base KHMDS, the detailed structure of this base that you can find in the part 1. In detail the discussion related to bases are already done, so I am not going into the details about the structure. So in presence of 74, again what we will do, this large portion you can consider as if it is R, right, and in this case, that is sulfone, this part you can consider as if it is R prime. Okay, so carbanion will be generated here and this will be the part of the CC double bond. So here we have this CC double bond. So this part that is coming from the CHO, that is R, and the other part that is coming from this SO2 tetrazole side. Okay, that is 75. So in this way, that is R prime, this is our R prime, and this is our R group. This whole side is R. So main focus we should give this part where E-alkene is generated. Okay, ratio is also given, you can see. The fourth example that is taken from Clayden. Here 1, 2, 3, 4. Again we have SO2pH group. In presence of base there will be carbanion generation. This carbanion will attack this CHO and there will be O-. Now this O- will be converted to the ester and there is finally reductive elimination step. So this part is coming from R CH2SO2pH, phenyl sulfone group, and the other part, though there is some chiral center and there is a large group, but we don't have to bother about it. that is this whole part. This, if you consider it as R prime, then this is our R prime. So there is a E double bond, that is R, then E alkene, R and R prime. Okay. The fifth example, here we have PtSO2. So PT is this phenyl tetrazole, that structure in the left hand side you can see. In presence of KH-DMS base, there will be generation of carbanion, and this will attack at this CHO. And finally, as we know, this is PT phenyl tetrazole. So the esterification step, reductive elimination steps, those are not present. And here directly we are getting this ring. Fine. Next example, this is taken from Zweifel. The second example, that is example 6, also from the same book. PtSO2 again, and here the carbanion will be generated in presence of KH-DMS. Basically in these two reactions, temperature is very low. Temperature I have not mentioned, but as we know that when it is reaction with PT, then temperature, that is comparatively, it is a smooth variant of the, even the modified Julia version. If we compare, it is a smooth variant. So temperature, that is reaction conditions are very that is low temperature, is smooth variant. Okay. So here the carbanion will be generated here, and it will attack this CHO, and this part that will remain intact, as you can see, and the other part that is coming from the PtSO2, that is where the carbanion is generated, this part. So what is the detailed structure of TBS, which is part of this aldehyde, that is given here. You can see this is basically this protected oxygen. Okay, OSIMe2 tertiary butyl. So this is example 6. Now example 7, this is taken from that is the reference is mentioned here along with the DOI, and I will also give all the reference along with the DOI in the description box for all these examples, so that you can if you want to check in detail, you can copy paste all these reference along with the DOI. So here we have example 7, and if you look at the heading, it is stereoselective synthesis of trisubstituted Z. So we are starting from some ketone, and here R has higher priority than R prime, right? And in this case, here we have double prime. Now this double prime, here we have hydrogen. So these higher priority groups, that is between R and R prime, R is having higher priority, and R double prime and H, this one is having higher priority. So both are on the same side. So this is very unusual. Normally we know that E alkene is the major, but here we are getting Z alkene and also trisubstituted, which is also not very common. So this is very interesting example, and if you want to go want to know the details, please check this reference. Fine. So it is trisubstituted Z alkene. This is highly unusual. Next example, aldehyde dependent EE or EZ selectivity. If you look at the starting material with SO2PT, the negative charge will be generated here. Now in this part, there is already a CC double bond in E, right? So this will also be present in the product, and there will be a new double bond generation by Julia. So this is a newly generated double bond, and as you can see, it may be E or it may be Z, E or Z. Now this is already E, so that is why it is either EE or it is EZ, right? Now when it is EZ, that is Z is higher priority, then we have one type of R prime, this is basically R prime. And when it is EZ, E is high, 9:1, then there is another type of R prime. So depending on what type of aldehyde we have taken, depending on the nature of the R prime, we can control whether the new bond will be E or Z, which one will be measured. So this is also very interesting. And in the final product, you have two double bonds, one of which is fixed at E, another, the newly generated, it may be E, it may be Z, right? Example 9, methylation reaction. Methylation reaction means in the product you can see there is CH2. Now this part is obviously coming from the ketone or aldehyde, because it is written here reaction, methylation reaction for aldehydes or ketones. So it may be aldehyde or ketone, because it may be alkyl or H. What type of R or R prime, both are given here. But this CH2 part, that is coming from this methyl, because here the negative charge in presence of base, that will be generated at this methyl. And here we also have this type of heteroaryl group, which is something new, because normally we have seen benzothiazole, tetrazole, this type of, but this is something new. Okay. So this is the example where we are getting CH2. So here question of Z or E doesn't arise. It is CH2 group terminal. Next example 10. Here we have this electron withdrawing group. So this is not heteroaryl benzene derivative, but because of this electron withdrawing group, and this type of moiety can be attached to SO2. Example you can find in the part 1, where we have seen that what are the different types of aryl group or heteroaryl group that can be attached to SO2, because here the purpose is to make, that is the O minus, which can easily attack at this portion. So if it is there is some electron withdrawing group, it is better, or some heteroaryl group. So here we have this 3CF3, 2CF3 substituted benzene ring attached to SO2, and the other reaction, but this is aldehyde, and we are getting E. Here P4TBU type of base is used. Detailed structure, as you can see, phosphagen type of base, a new type of base is used here. The reference is also given. So as I have said, in the description box you will get all the reference. I will mention all of them. Example 11. Stereoselective synthesis of alpha beta unsaturated ester starting from aldehyde. So this is the aldehyde, and if you look at this benzothiazole substituted sulfone, where the carbonyl will be generated here, but we already have ester group present, which will also be maintained in the final product. So that is why it is not just E alkene, it is also alpha beta unsaturated ester. So in this, if we follow this method, we can make alpha beta unsaturated ester, right? Example 12. Modified Julia olefination on anhydride. Now this is also something very unusual, because normally what we do, we take some sulfone and there is some attachment of pH or tetrazole or benzothiazole or any other heteroaryl, but this side, see, we have some anhydride, cyclic anhydride. So that is why if you look at the final product, this part of the double bond, that is coming from this part, okay, where the carbonyl will be generated here. But other part, where you can see some cyclic ester is there, that is coming from this anhydride. That means one of this carbonyl, that will be the taking part in the actual reaction. So this is also very interesting, where we can make do the reaction, not any aldehyde, not any ketone, but some anhydride, which is here our source of the carbonyl group, where this carbonyl will attack. Next example, example 13. Chem difluoroolefin reagent. Look at the product. Here we have this CFE2 group on one side of the CC double bond, and that is coming from here, right? Here we have heteroaryl, which is pyridine, and carbonyl will be generated here. So this part is one side of this CC double bond, and the other part that is coming from this aldehyde or ketone. And what type of R or R prime, that is already mentioned here. Okay. Next, example 14. Synthesis of 2-naphthyl methyl vinyl ether. Look at the product. This side we have some vinyl, and the other side we have this methyl, 2-naphthyl methyl. That means this methyl on of the hydrogen as if it is substituted by naphthyl. Now how we are starting the reaction? In presence of base, this is our aldehyde, right? Now this aldehyde, and there is a mention of 1. That means if you look at the sulfone, this part is already present in the sulfone. That means this side, that is, this is our newly generated CC double bond, which is our main bond formation, connective double bond formation by Julia. That is fine. But if we consider one part of this CC double bond, that is the right hand side part, that is actually coming from this one compound. Okay, that means from the sulfone, heteroaryl substituted sulfone. From that part we are getting this part, okay, and the other part that we are getting from this aldehyde. So in this way we can make vinyl, that is, we can make ether, where one side of the ether there is a CC double bond vinyl, which is, this CC bond is actually formed by Julia olefination. But if you just simply consider the name of the final product ether, it is 2-naphthyl methyl on one side and vinyl group on the other side. So in this way, by these 14 examples, we have seen that diverse type of applications of Julia olefination and the modified Julia olefination or Julia-Kociensky reaction, everything is possible. Okay, so please check all the references and the book page number where the examples I have taken from the book, everything is present in the description box. Thank you for your time.